Welcome to A Couple of Swans. I'm Adam.
I'm Courtney.
And we're going to be doing a show today about vacations and how they've changed, what we want out of them, why we do them, and what they look like now in our life and what they've looked like in the past. Just because everybody in America claim they want to go on a vacation every year. And most people have families. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And I kind of wanted to know what, just in general, when you think about vacation, what is the reward? What are you looking? What's the goal in a vacation?
Well, normally as I'm covered in sweat, like dragging beach toys and chairs, and, you know, my kids have like sprawled their stuff out from one side of the beach to the other. And I'm like thinking, like, I'm just trying to make memories here.
Is that the goal?
No, that's not my goal, but that's normally what
Well, what's
happens.
the goal? What's the goal?
My goal is I'm trying to make memories.
That is the goal.
The goal is that. But
For you or for the kids?
both. I want them to have great memories, great family fun. And I want to have great memories, great family fun, like the beautiful like pictures of you guys at the beach and everyone's happy. But the more we travel a good bit because I have these like aspirations to want to do these fun things. And man, just about every time, sometimes hours into it or days into it, I'm like, oof, we might have booked this one for too long, or what were we thinking?
For me, it's did you
minutes.
say hours or days?
Yeah. For Adam, it's minutes.
For me, it's definitely not hours, but definitely days. I am like, oh no, we might have booked this for too long.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm interested because we have 4 kids, and we got married when you were older in life. I already had 3 kids bringing it to the table. And so how different is it vacationing with a bunch of children?
I wasn't 70. When you say I'm older, it sounds like...
You're going to be 40 in a couple months.
I understand that.
Without kids, that's kind of older.
What, when we got married?
Well, that means you've done probably
Yeah, but when
30s.
we got together, I was 33.
Not so crazy. Okay, so you've done 33 years of vacationing without kids. So
yeah, but from 0 to 10, that doesn't count.
that counts as vacation. Okay, so what are the things that are different? I can tell you from my end things that are different from like if it was just me going on a trip versus when I am like looking, I'm like, okay, does it have a washer and dryer? Our Airbnb had a washer and dryer. It was good, like kind of thing. So like what are the things that are different? Like what do you look for when you're traveling with a whole bunch of children versus how it used to be like when you were single?
Are you serious?
Yes.
How's that? That can't be a real question. It's a total
Everything's so
180.
different.
It's not so different. It's the opposite.
I know.
It's the opposite of what
Well,
you're
that's
looking for.
what I think is so funny.
Well, no, I mean, when you're single, you know.
Tell me about it. I haven't really been single much. I got married, my first marriage the month after I turned 18. Then I had my first child when I was 19. And so I have always, as an adult, almost always had children. And so I am just so curious of how it is, because you did do a lot of traveling, like staying in other countries for weeks and like all kinds of stuff that was super spontaneous. And then now we have this family and it's so different.
Well, if you play your cards right or you play your cards wrong, when you're single, your whole life is a vacation compared to what my life is today. Meaning, that's not a good or a bad thing. But what I'm saying is there's no responsibility. You can take off whenever you want. You don't even need a suitcase. You can get there like you can.
How many suitcases did we travel with this trip? It's just so much.
Nine bags.
It was 9 luggage.
Well, it's a lot of people, but I mean, when when
we're
we're looking for a place now, it is a totally different process. Like, do we want nightlife? Could care less. Do we want, can we stay somewhere where it's cheap so we can stay longer if we wanted to?
Yes.
What? No, we don't stay somewhere cheap because we can't, because it doesn't have what we need.
Because there's not. But that would be ideal.
Because you have so many people. When you're single and it's your buddy, your buddy's going on vacation or you're going on vacation with a group or whatever, you are like every man for himself. You find the best deal you can. We'll get together. Yeah, we'll stay, what we might stay at the same hotel or the same resort. But as far as the planning goes, you're on your own. So it's like, it depends on, what your budget is, how long you're staying, but you're only making decisions independently for yourself, very selfishly. Now, when we look for a place, has nothing to do with us. I mean, for the most part, it's like, do we want it to be a place that can accommodate our whole family? Yes. Does it need Wi-Fi so Christian can jam on his game system when he's got downtime? Yes. Does it have to have doors that are, I didn't even know this until this last vacation. Does it have to have interior doors for every bedroom? Yes, it does.
Yes, it does. Because I did not like that you had to go out of the main house, walk down a sidewalk, and then go to like another little cabana for a child. I just didn't like it. I didn't want to be in the big house.
You didn't just like it.
Well, we left.
It sent you into a tailspin of fear.
It was. And it was a beautiful mansion. It was probably the most beautiful place we've ever rented. It was absolutely beautiful, except only one bedroom was inside the main house and all the other 3 bedrooms were not. They were like away from the main house and you had to like walk.
That's the part I think that's part of the reason we had to leave is it wasn't because we were over beautiful. Here and then the rest of our family was over here. And that's not what we thought vacation was going to be or what we needed it to be, because it's not like you can just go on a vacation every month and be like, oh, we'll chalk that one up as a bad one. It takes a lot of like, hey, everybody gets their timing together and all that stuff. So like, I think that it was partly, when I say you did a tailspin of fear, I'm not dogging you. I know that it did worry you because the pool and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is I think the separation of us and the fact that we didn't have really a common place to be together. And that's what you think of when like I'm taking my whole family on vacation.
Well, you think of that part, but I think like, what if they decided to try and cook eggs, for the first time? What if they don't turn the oven off?
Yeah, no,
like,
cook
and
eggs.
I'm over in another
Try
building.
To start a fire. A lot of fire stuff.
What
here.
if someone chokes on a grape? I don't want to be in another building than my small children. So we left our vacation house. We called Airbnb. It wasn't kind of how it was described. So we picked another house, and
so we went. We were down there for, we're talking about vacations. We're a week in town. We just got back post vacation last Saturday, and we went to St. John and the Virgin Islands for 9 days, like 2 days of flying, even though it wasn't a ton of flying, and then 7 full days.
Well, our trip home
with a capital F, full days in St. John.
Yeah, our trip home was a ton of flying. It wasn't supposed to be, but it was.
We moved to another place. This place had similar problems, but our back was against the wall, had exterior rooms, all that stuff. It had air conditioning in the rooms, but that was just 4 bedrooms stacked on top of each other. And then the main room, which was huge, was the kitchen, the living, the dining, everything all in one. And it wasn't air conditioned, and it was unseasonably hot, according to the local people down there.
It was at least 95 degrees in that room. There was no way to hang out. So you had to keep all the doors open because you still have to cook. You still have to like feed your family. They only have a bed in their room.
So if you've ever seen John Wick or John Wick 1 or 2 or 3, replace the gun with an electrified mosquito swatter and put it in Courtney's hands. And that was what we watched the whole time, was a John Wick movie of her destroying mosquitoes 4 hours at a time.
We had hundreds of mosquito bites by the end of the trip, if you combined all the children and grown-ups together. It was, okay, so vacation as a whole, I think we'll look back and say, wow, this was amazing.
Always do. We always
do. But vacation as actually being in it, it was so hot in that big room. I just kept repeating to myself of like, as I was swatting mosquitoes, of like, I cannot wait to leave a review for them to like tell people if they want to feel like they're in an inferno being eaten alive by mosquitoes, rent this place. And I still haven't left a review for the place because I also don't want to be mean, but I don't want somebody else that has a big family. Like, we ended up spending a whole bunch of time in the pool, which ended up being fun.
It was fun, but it was excessive amounts of time in the pool.
We were like wrinkled like raisins.
Like 4 hours straight.
Because there was nowhere else for us to go as a family, like at this house, because it was so hot. Or also, they didn't have any TVs in any of the rooms except the hot room. And so the kids would all come like into our room, but we didn't have Wi-Fi in our room and we didn't have a TV in our room. So it was like, everybody's just like wrestling and getting, you know, whatever. We read some books with the kids, but overall, if I could go back and do it differently, I think our entire trip would have been differently. Either had I chilled out on my fear and just hoped no one died and they stayed in the original house with their separate faraway rooms, because at least that house was a good communal house, as far as the community areas. So had we stayed there, probably the trip would have been better. Just going to the second place, we were closer to everything, but it was so hot in those main rooms. I don't know. I really regret. And if we were just, you know,
hindsight's 20/70 million. Like we'll look back and be like, hey, that was a great trip. It was a perfect trip. And I ran into a person, this lady in the pizza place. We ordered out a lot of pizza while we were there. And she was from Georgia, like 2 hours south of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to her, and I don't know how it brought up that she had rented a place
to get your food.
Well, that too. But she had rented a place, had the same problem. She had come down with like something crazy. She had rented a place, her sister had rented a place, like 20 people. And her place had the same deal going on, like no air conditioning. And she was like in this Southern Belle drawl, was like, I'm from the South and I cannot stand not having air conditioning. And I wonder if it's because we run it so much during the year that we're just used to it.
No, it was so hot.
I know it was hot.
The locals were like, it's so hot. Like, I love going to work because there's AC here. I mean, it was so like,
yeah, you can see a war starting over air conditioning on that island.
And I also think like, well, even what did you say? You're like, I wonder how high suicide rates were before they got air here. Like, it was so hot.
Well, plus you get hot. At least I know when I get hot.
That's why we were in the pool 4 hours a day.
I get edgier.
We both were.
You get really edgy when you're really hot.
I can't handle the heat.
And when we can't handle it, and then you've got 4 kids, baby, all that stuff, and everybody wants to do something different, and everybody's hungry all the time. It's like,
yeah,
it's like this pressure cooker for like
it actually feels like you're in the pressure cooker.
Anxiety or whatever it is, like frustration because you're so hot. You can't stop sweating.
And then the part of me that is like, I grew up relatively poor-ish. I mean, we did take family vacations that we definitely saved for, or went to timeshares to go to Disney or whatever, you know. But so on, and then as an adult, I definitely have struggled over the years to ever, I mean, for the first years and years of my kids' life, we didn't go on a vacation at all, ever. And so I also have this part of me that's like, you know, you should be grateful that you were on this vacation.
No doubt.
This is such an amazing opportunity.
Everybody has that in their mind.
So I have this like swing of like, I'm trying to have gratitude. I know this is a like once in a lifetime experience that like some people will never get to go to the Virgin Islands ever. I want to have this like heart of gratitude, and I want my kids to understand like how amazing this is. Like, honestly, I complain more about the heat than my kids did. I was so angry that the mosquitoes kept biting everyone. Like, I just was walking around zapping them all the time. But so there's this like swing of like, I want to have gratitude that we are doing this experience. But then you have kids like arguing a little bit and you're like, oh, what?
Nagging.
Nagging.
It's not arguing. It is nagging.
Yes.
It is nag central.
Like,
especially on vacation.
He broke my goggles.
Well, not that. It's like this turkey doesn't taste like the turkey from home. You're like, yeah. Well, we're 1,500 miles away from home. So what do you want me to do about that?
Yeah. Or you don't have like, what kind of juice is this? I'm like, it's going to be the only juice they had.
There's a balance though in being grateful and what everybody talks about today, which is living in the moment. Like when you're like, I'm in this moment and I should be grateful, but I am sweating. Everything is biting me. And everybody is screaming at me. I'm struggling being grateful right now.
Then I get in my bed, which does have air conditioning in it. And because all the kids had been coming into our room, it was turbo air in our room. If I could have knocked a wall out between our room.
It was like 41 degrees in our room.
But you like get in and then there's like a pound of sand in your bed from people that didn't like.
You say people.
Our children.
Oh.
Like,
me?
or you, probably.
Me?
You know, like before you get in bed, there's like a thing. You're supposed to, you know, have a towel by the bed or whatever, and you like dust your feet off. So if you're sandy, like you don't put anything sandy on the bed, and you dust your feet off if you are sandy. If you're putting the baby in the bed and she's got sandy feet, like keep the sand out of the bed. No one abides by
That's
the sand
one drawback for an Airbnb. I mean, I guess you could wash your sheets every night, but if you go stay at a resort or a hotel, you can be like, hey, can you turn down my room? And they at least get your bed straight with all the sand.
Well, we just like broom
There's no way we
it.
couldn't
Used
have
our
sand.
Arms. Oh, there's so much sand.
I was either wet from staying. I almost slept in the pool one day.
Yes, it was so hot.
I almost duct taped a
So
snorkel
if y'all
to my
are
face.
jealous of our family vacation, okay, what were things that were good about vacation though? Because we've complained a lot about this like great trip we got to take.
But the complaining parts are the parts that I look back and they're funny and they're endearing. Like you with your fly swatter and everybody wanting to play Marco Polo for like 17 hours straight.
We played more Marco Polo.
To the point where we had to because that's the only way we could cool down. But I was just like, I cannot play any more Marco Polo. I'm looking back. I'll look back on it, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that was the good parts. The
beaches were great.
On the face of it, the good parts were how beautiful the beaches are, how easily accessible, in my opinion, the beaches are, how many of them there are, and just where you are, like how." That place is insanely gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. The people there are nice. Other than just...
You said I've got no issues.
I said I have no issues. It's just the air, the heat. It was so hot.
I did get shook down by the rental car guy. Yeah, I'd return.
That isn't good news either.
Oh. Well, that's vacation. That is vacation. No, that is it in a nutshell. I mean, I'm not trying to concentrating on the negative, but like... Those things I swear, I'm only a week out. Give me a year. I will look back and all of that stuff will be actually good, like heartwarming memories of us on vacation. And I'll forget about all the stuff that was like
forget about the stuff
Instagram worthy, like all that stuff. You don't remember that stuff. You remember the nitty gritty. That's what you remember.
So our kids got along. This was the first trip I think we've ever taken. That everyone,
no doubt,
for the most part, got along, and we did not have I don't think we had a
didn't
single
have a knockdown, drag out, or a separate, or anything.
Meltdown the entire trip. I will say the flight home, our very last leg, it was supposed to be 30 minutes, and it ended up being like 4 hours in a plane on a tarmac, and one in Atlanta, and then when we landed in Chattanooga, we were stuck as well. Even when we got off the flight, the pilot was like, I'll let you off this flight from hell. Like the adults are getting irritable. We didn't get snacks.
That happens
like
a lot.
It happens. That I started feeling like we are 10 minutes from our home and I'm about to see everyone like lose it. Like I just kept saying, we're so close, you guys. Like we have done so good. This whole trip, everybody's gotten along so good. Like don't ruin it. Like do not ruin it. And it did. It ended up being a success. I would consider it a huge success on many levels for, and I think you learn every time you travel of things I'll do differently. I will not just assume when it says the house has AC. I'm personally messaging them and saying, does it have AC in every single room and all communal areas? Like,
we talked about that. Like we learned something this time and we've gotten really lucky for years. I feel like I've been lucky for my whole life. Like
for your planning versus
just going and doing it and it works out. Maybe that's perspective, or maybe that's just because I've just gotten really lucky. And we've been really lucky together since I've known you about just going and doing stuff. But from here on out, when we're planning, especially if we're planning for our whole crew of people, we have to get the detail. You and I are not detail people in a lot of ways. And we have to like take the time and go really dig in and figure out where we're going, not necessarily plan the trip like events or anything like that, but where we're staying and what it looks like is so important that we have to get into that.
Well, I'm such a sucker to be like, it's beautiful. Let's stay here.
Exactly.
I love it. Let's stay here. But then you're like, you get there and you're in the middle of the shadiest area in the whole city. And you're like, I didn't realize that. So I think every time we've gone somewhere, we've learned like, okay, we got to look into this, or we've got to look into like, I don't want to feel unsafe, walking to get my.
You don't feel unsafe on St. John.
Not there, but we've booked beautiful places in other cities
that were really crazy.
And it's like, oh, well, we heard gunshots within the first 10 minutes of being at one of the places we booked, on another trip. And I was like, oh, it was beautiful, but we might die. So we left. That was in Savannah. There were gunshots. It was so.
You're talking about one, your memory is like, there's like trauma
so
there.
Much trauma. No, but I think that those are things. So if someone was going to travel, we'll end it with this. So somebody was going to go on a trip. What are the things as a not single man anymore, but as a, as a family, what are the things you would say? These are the tips I give you so that you have the best experience and you learn from our mistakes. What would we say they would do? I would definitely say like location. See where it's at. Is it close to everything? Is it far away from everything? Don't just go if it's a beautiful picture, but like the location.
That's huge. Location, call the people. If you have things that you need, call if it says it's got Wi-Fi and it says it's got balcony, like if you don't care, it's fine. But if you need something in particular, like if you need Wi-Fi service throughout the whole house
and in every room,
in every single room, you need to reach out and do that. And literally just like identify the things that are kind of non-starters for you and then make a list of the houses that are acceptable and then go. I guess we're not talking about places at all, like geographically.
We're just talking about
houses.
Actual things. Okay, here are some things that I think are, after traveling with kids for lots of different trips and traveling with you, I want TVs in bedrooms. And I want a TV in the main room, and I want air throughout the whole thing.
We don't have any downtime at this house, our house at home.
Yeah.
We barely ever get to watch TV. I never get to watch football, any of that stuff. But you actually have downtime on vacation, and Courtney and I were just sitting there staring at each other, breathing.
And we had no Wi-Fi in their rooms.
We didn't have anything to look at, which is crazy. I mean, I brought books, but they were like, I don't know. I think I just bring books to places to look smart.
To feel like, yeah.
No, because I mean, I do read, but like the ones that I bring on vacation are ridiculous. Like it's like
one of them was the power positive thinking.
Change your life in 30 minutes, but it's a 400-page book or whatever. But identify if the house. Are you talking about with kids in general?
I just think when you're going, there's just things that sometimes you're like, I didn't think of that. One of ours is like, how comfortable is the bed? Like, do they, like, we have even talked about traveling and pack. This is how I know I'm getting old, because I was like, I think next trip we should take a suitcase that has an egg crate mattress topper and a fan in it. Like in our suitcase, this trip for Veda, we took a pack and play in a suitcase and a high chair. And because the place didn't have that. And so we packed, because we called it to make sure, because of other trips.
Because you need it.
Because you need it.
We didn't call about
Those
the
are
other
things
stuff,
we needed.
We called about that.
And so now we've realized, after staying at some of these places, that you're like, I'm getting old. My back, like I could not roll over. I had to like get assistance rolling to get out of the bed. And so I was
are you going to get like a make and model in a year on the bed? How are you going to do that?
I just feel like,
you're like, hey, send me a video of you popping up and down on that thing.
Or like, could I ship a mattress topper to it?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's decorate their house for our arrival.
It would have been worth it. $50 on a topper for like a good night's sleep for that week.
I mean, I thought about buying a couple of things down there. I was even willing to buy like a TV.
You almost bought a television, but they didn't have any.
But it's because where we were, there's like everything was stuff like that, because it's an island, was so expensive. I was like, I can't even,
That's probably why there's no TVs in there.
Yeah, but anyway.
So those are things I would identify. What does our family use often? Like, we use a kitchen. We want community areas. Like, we want this, like a pool. Oh my gosh, so glad that house had a pool because we kind of lived in it to stay cool. But I think I don't want to say I just shoved them in front of TV, but like, if you're on vacation together for a really, really long time, there are times where your kids just start getting on each other's nerves. And it would have been really awesome to be like, okay, everybody go to your room, watch TV for 30 minutes, like get a break from each other for a second instead of staying in the inferno. And, like get a break, like put a movie on.
They get exhausted of cards and pickup sticks and Marco Polo. Like,
Christian was climbing like trees. He was like literally climbing mango trees and collecting fruit.
But he was going to hurt himself because he was so bored. So it's like, hey, can we put you in front of something just to babysit you for an hour? Just
so no one but those are kind of I don't know if this is really a tip helpful. We kind of just wanted to share what are the romanticized.
We haven't given them any tips except for identify what you have to have if you're going to be somewhere for more than a night.
Yes.
And make sure that they have it. And if not, bring it or find another place.
Something else that I do feel like has been worth the money the last 2 trips we've taken was having them, the last 2 houses we've stayed at has given you the option to stock your refrigerator. So you already have to pay anyways to have your groceries there.
It's nothing. It's like $40 extra.
And so it was very, very cheap to have them. And so they probably spent half the afternoon at the store getting, we gave them a list of all the groceries we needed. So when we actually arrived, like we had waters, we had snacks, we had, food, and we still had to make a couple trips to the store for we ran out of deli meat or whatever. But that is something that I feel like we will ask continually. Is it an option? And if it's not outrageous, then
if it's not crazy expensive.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to spend my whole first day with 4 hungry children, all of us like going to the grocery store and we still have all of our luggage and everything,
Or you go out to eat in some places with all of your kids and it's like, hey, that was $250.
It was really expensive.
And I should have spent the $50 and just had groceries. We could have gotten peanut butter and jelly when we got there.
Or you could have made Alfredo yourself at home, like instead of.
I could.
Yeah, you could. You're a good cook. But it's just one of those things. It's vacation.
So we don't have many tips. We just wanted to talk about vacation. I wanted to hear what you said about why you want to go. I don't even think you got to it really, but just making memories.
I just want memories. And I think we made them. Like the kids loved it. And they had fun. They got to see beaches they've never seen before. We went to a lot of different beaches. I was on a beach. I was like, okay, well, this one's nice. And I would find a really nice one. I'm like, but I want to go to the next one because what if I'm missing out on something like at the next one? And so every day we tried a different beach. And we found like a lot of different beaches and experiences and fun. And so
it was great. I don't know what you said. You're like, hey, you're getting old when this. I notice I'm getting old when I start
the fans.
When I start fantasizing about my stuff at home. Like everything is there where it's supposed to be. My bed feels the way that I know that I like it to feel. My room is the temperature that I want it to be. Like I don't know. It's like, that's when I never used to feel that way. I'd be like, I'd stay here forever on the, doing, jungle hopping or whatever. Now it's like, I cannot wait.
Yeah. We're like 4 days from going home and he's like, oh man, I miss our purple mattress. Oh man, I really miss.
It's like you're old or you're lame. I don't know what it is.
I wish we brought that fan with us.
I'm very content with our life. So it's like, hey.
Where did we go? Oh, when we were in the Dominican Republic last year, we went on a trip, me and you.
Tell me about that one.
Oh, and he ended up catching a moped ride from a guy to go get a fan. They put the fan together, then they took it apart, put it in a trash bag. He came home with a trash bag because the resort we were staying at was again hot. Maybe we should just say cold places. And so I was like, I cannot do this. And I was
because when
miserable.
You think vacation, you think tropical.
I just apparently struggle with
heat. We need
to
stop doing that. We need to go to like Michigan in
Wyoming.
the winter.
We're going to Jackson Hole.
Let's go true
Canada.
like USA.
I love Canada.
Yeah.
We've loved all our cold trip. Maybe it's just I don't like heat. But he ended up going, and this wasn't just because I was so hot. He was so hot too. But we ended up going. He got on a moped. He was gone for like 3 hours to get a fan. And so I was like, you're kidding me. Then he sends me video.
Well, I had a rental car.
Of him.
I had a rental car.
You did.
And tracking down this fan, I somehow got out of the rental car that I'd rented and hitched a ride on the back of some dude's moped to go get this black market fan. Then they put it into this garbage bag after they assembled it, deassembled it, and then assembled it back. Put it in the garbage bag. I noticed it was about 77 pounds. And I was like, this
so
is the heaviest little circle fan I've ever. What I bought was one of those fans that you see in a barber shop that is steel that you mount to the wall.
So when he got it back to our room,
you couldn't, it doesn't have a stand. It was just,
we propped it up
had to tie it to the TV.
Yeah, and a lamp. And we had it I'm sure when the cleaners came in to clean the room, like at the place we were staying, because they come in every day and like make your bed, it's like a hotel or whatever. And so I'm sure they were like, what is going on in here? But that fan probably saved our life.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, so I don't think it's a bad idea to travel with a fan.
Okay. Is that where you're going with all that? Yeah, bring a fan.
I think that's my age.
What, you're a fangirl?
Oh, fangirl. Yeah, I do. I think that there comes a point where what is important to you of what was a good trip is more like, it had a washer and dryer and a fan and a TV in the room. And it had like bottomless drinks and a late night whatever and marble floors. It's like, it had a really comfortable couch.
Yeah, it's a great couch. Just nap on. Those are the things.
Like they had chip clips. Seriously. Like, when you're staying somewhere and you're like, oh, there's no Ziplocs. Where are the Ziplocs? Like, because you're used to, like, I want to save these things. And so I appreciate the things like,
you appreciate the small little creature comforts.
Yeah, like they provided chip clips. So now my chips aren't going to get buggy.
Next time we go somewhere really cold.
Yeah, so if you see me packing weird suitcases of like Ziplocs, chip clips, all a fan, an egg chopper, you're going to be like, oh, this is my life.
So this is our public service announcement to just go on vacation. Go take that trip. Ooh. Even if it ends up a little different or a little more difficult than you thought it would. A year later, you're going to be like, oh, that was such a good trip.
Yeah, that's true.
It will be. In our memory, which is selective, it'll be, that was a great trip.
Yeah, it's kind of like childbirth. Vacations are similar.
It is.
Where you're like, oh, but it was so good. Like, such a good birth experience. Our doctor was so good.
Just kidding. We have to get off this podcast, I think.
Oh, yeah, this one's over. This is over. Our vacation's over. Maybe we'll do a childbirth podcast at some point.
I was like, please don't start going down. She can talk about childbirth for 48 hours. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. And we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye, y'all.